Hello everybody, my name is Hunter Philbeck and I'm the host of Mind Your Business podcast. Today we'll be joined by multiple people from the panel of Boeing. The people who will be joining me today are the CEO of Boeing, Dave Calhoun, the Federal Aviation Administration, and one of the manufacturing managers of Boeing. Today we'll be talking about what happened recently with Boeing and the incident that happened on January 5th, 2024. Also, another big topic of discussion we'll be talking about is how they have had 8 incidents happen in the last 2 weeks. Also, we'd like to ask the following to the manufacturing manager and the Federal Aviation Administration by asking them that we would also like to get to know what makes good quality control and what they can do to improve their position. First up, we have Dave Calhoun. Dave Calhoun is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Boeing Company, a leading global aerospace company and a provider of commercial airplane defense, space and security systems, and global services. How are we doing today, Mr. Calhoun?
Hi, it's been a pleasure to be here today. It's been a pretty busy couple of weeks with all the dilemmas that have been going on recently, but I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for joining today, Mr. Calhoun. Can you provide some insights into the sequence of events that led to the Boeing incident?
Well, it's exactly what you saw. A fuselage plug blew out, and that led to one of the doors to the cabin of the aircraft coming off and leaving passengers to, open air scenery. It was a manufacturing issue. We've been working tirelessly to fix the problem, and I hopped on the phone with one of our Alaskan engineers, and he told us there was 2 loose bolts. That's what he said to me. We've been working with the FAA to create a plan and to check every single one of our planes, like all 100% of our planes. And to talk more about this surprising situation, I brought one of my top manufacturing managers with us to discuss it some more.
Hey guys, my name is Efstathios, and I'm one of the Boeing's many manufacturing managers. I personally oversee the 737 MAX production line. I've been with this company ever since I graduated from MIT back in 2014, and I gradually climbed the corporate ladder.
Nice to have you on the podcast today, Mr. Efstathios. First question I have for you is, what makes good quality control for you?
Well, first off, I'd say inspection, regularly examining products, materials, or services to identify defects, non-compliance, or deviations from quality standards. And then testing would be next, conducting various tests and measurements that access the performance, functionality, or characteristics of products and services. Next would be statistical process control, employing statistical techniques to monitor and control production processes, ensuring they remain within acceptable quality limits. Documentation and records, keeping detailed records of inspections, tests, and corrective actions, taken to maintain traceability and accountability. Corrective action, of course, implementing appropriate measures to address any identified quality issues and prevent their reoccurrence. Training and education, providing employees with the necessary skills and knowledge to maintain quality standards effectively. Continuous improvement, of course, constantly analyzing data and feedback to identify areas for improvement and enhance the overall quality management system.
Thank you for your response to that question. I have one more question for you, and I'd like to know is what you and your team can do to improve their position in your state as of right now.
Well, I'd say first off, the FAA has given us 90 days to fix our quality control, so we've been completely transparent every step of the way. And I believe transparency has prevailed us in all these discussions. Boeing will develop a comprehensive action plan with measurable criteria that demonstrate the profound change that the FAA demands. And our Boeing leadership team is totally committed to meeting this challenge, and we as a company are committed to starting afresh with our quality control process and ensuring that the safety is the top priority for our community.
Thank you for your response, and thank you for being on this podcast. Now welcome our next guest, which is a member of the Federal Aviation Administration.
Thank you for having me on this interview. I'm Zach Williams. I'm an administrator for the FAA.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for taking your time and being on this podcast. One question I have for you is, how does risk management play in the Boeing incident, and can you elaborate on it for me today?
Risk management plays a huge part in this case. Boeing's whole system was obviously not up to standards to fly. When you talk about risk management, the main goal is to keep people safe. Boeing failed and seemed to look over the safety precautions and continued to fly when the flight was not obviously ready.
Thank you for that response to the question. One more question I have for you is, how does the FAA assess and manage risks associated with the new aircraft designs and technologies, particularly those introduced by manufacturers like Boeing?
Specifically, the FAA utilizes a combination of engineering expertise, data analysis, simulation, and testing to assess the safety of new aircraft designs and technologies. We conduct comprehensive evaluations of the aircraft systems, structures, performance, characteristics to identify any potential safety concerns. In addition to the certification process, the FAA continuously monitors the performance of aircraft and services, various surveillance programs. This includes analyzing data from flight operations, conducting inspections, and investigating any new incidents and accidents that occur.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, to the responses to the questions that I've asked you. So now I'll end with the CEO and ask him a couple questions. So I bumped into a source recently from CNN and specifically said, you quoted, "We caused the problem." So can you tell me what your thoughts are from this article?
Well, with anything that happens to our planes, it's our problem. And that's what I was kind of getting at. Boeing is responsible for what happens to our planes. And, whatever the situation is, it can't put anyone in danger. And that's what our airplane did. So any airplane that leaves our factories or any other company's factories just has to be safe. And, with Boeing, what happened is we just have to be better,
Thank you on elaborating for that for me. So one more question before we wrap up this podcast is what you can do specifically as a CEO of a huge company and make sure this never ever happens again?
Well, thanks for that question to begin with. But to start off, I have to address the situation head on. I have to take the blame. It was our fault. And I'm going to talk directly to our board members, our managers, our employees about where we messed up and how we can fix the mistake. And in the process, it will come down to employees being fired, professionals being hired to fix what unfortunate situation has happened. We will improve our revision process for all airplanes, including have more people revise those planes and have multiple revisions on every single plane. And we also will have the FAA look into the planes as well to make sure their safety protocols are being followed, and pretty much saying the airplane won't, break apart like it did. And with these steps and following all the FAA regulations, we will limit all issues that have happened, and our company will eventually set an example for other companies, with also proving to the public that our planes are safe and will not cause any more problems.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Calhoun, and I want to thank everyone on the panel today for joining this podcast, because this is a very big topic that has happened recently and we needed to talk about this. So I want to thank everyone for coming on the podcast and taking your time out of the day to come here today. Thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast Mind Your Own Business, and I hope you guys found our discussion about the Boeing incident insightful and very important.